What's up guys, Rob here, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down DraftKings and FanDuel's MMA daily fantasy games point systems. One thing to note is that the object of fantasy sports is to get the most points as possible with your lineup for the best value that you can get it at. I'm going to talk about FanDuel first because their point system is less specific. You'll see what I mean by that in a moment. As you can see, FanDuel puts a lot of emphasis on what round the finish comes in rather than things that happen within those rounds. And because of that, as you can see, first round win can get you the most by 100 points, and it doesn't even matter if it's a submission or a knockout. But they do have criteria that is centered around certain moves. Significant strikes at 0.6 points, takedowns at 6 points, knockdowns at 12, and then a submission attempt is 5 points. On DraftKings, much like FanDuel, you can score points for what round the finish comes in. So first round win is 90 points, second round win is 70 points, and then there's a bit of a drop off after that, with the third round win being 45 points, the fourth and fifth being 40, and then a decision win would be 30 points. And then one thing that I like about DraftKings is that they also have a quick win bonus, which is within 60 seconds of the first round. So basically, if your fighter gets a finish within the first minute, you get an additional 25 points, which is definitely really good for boosting your total. So as you can see, there are two types of strikes that score points in DraftKings, and that is strikes and significant strikes. And they both score 0.2 points. Now, that seems like a low total, but if you think about it, that'll add up as the fight goes on. And in case you don't know, the difference between a strike and a significant strike is a fairly simple one. A significant strike would be any shot that lands just clean, like let's say for example just a clean right hook on the jaw. That would be a significant strike. And a normal strike, for example, would maybe be just like a quick jab that grazes the opponent's cheek or something that lands but maybe doesn't make as much of an impact. To the casual MMA fan, grappling might be a bit more unknown, but I think that DraftKings really makes it a lot easier to understand the little things that happen when the fight goes to the ground. So as you can see, a takedown on DraftKings is plus 5 points. Now everybody pretty much understands what a takedown is, so I'm going to move on to the reversal/sweep section. Now, if you've ever seen a wrestling match, a reversal is pretty much when the bottom wrestler ends up transitioning on top of the wrestler who was on top of him right before that, and because of that, he'll get 2 points. But in fantasy MMA, DraftKings will award a fighter 5 points for it. And another thing to note is that a sweep is pretty much the same thing as a reversal, but in jiu-jitsu. And usually in jiu-jitsu, the fighter is on their back rather than like on their hands and knees. So it's done in different ways, and like there's different techniques that could lead to it, and there's way too many for me to get into in the video. But if they execute one of those sweeps and get on top, it's pretty much the same function as a reversal in wrestling, and because of that, they will also get 5 points. Another thing that I like about DraftKings is that they value control time, and they value it at 0.03 points per second. And that adds up over time because if you think about it, let's say a fighter holds their opponent down for 3 minutes in a round. If you do 3 minutes, that's 180 seconds. So if you do 180 times 0.03, that's 5.4 points. And that's only in one round. Like, that's pretty good, and it adds up. And if you get that in 3 rounds, that's over 16 points. So it really ends up boosting your total over time, and it might make those points where it seems like nothing's going on a bit more exciting because you actually have some stake in it. One last thing that I want to note about DraftKings is that knockdowns get you 10 points, and that is the most points that you can get off of one single move in MMA, and might I add, rightfully so. Like I said, especially with the ground game, I really think that DraftKings can help people learn a lot while they're watching, which FanDuel really doesn't. FanDuel, the major thing that they have on the ground is submission attempts, and while that's important, there's things that lead to submission attempts, and those things are things that DraftKings covers when it comes to reversals, sweeps. Like for example, let's say it's the final round of a fight, a fighter is on the bottom, but they have more energy than the guy who's on top of them. Let's say that they're in their guard and they pull off a nice sweep to get on top, and then they get an advantageous position and finish the fight via TKO or submission. Now, while the TKO or the submission is the exciting part, how did they get there? It was through the sweep. So that's why DraftKings values sweeps and reversals so highly, because they really do change fights. I mean, literally someone goes from the bottom to the top and top to bottom. So that's a big part of MMA. And while like you may not understand what's going on, I think DraftKings can definitely make you understand what's going on, because you'll be much more locked into those little things as they happen. I really do think understanding these little things make MMA a more fun sport to watch, because it's not just all about knockouts, submissions. I really do think that if you understand those little things, the sport as a whole will be a lot more fun to watch, because you'll really understand how great fighters apply little techniques and little things here and there to set up those big finishes that you love to see. With that being said, that is the end of this video. I hope you guys can use the knowledge acquired in this video to pick what app you'd want to play daily fantasy on, and hopefully we can help you make some money on that with the Hurt Sportsbook, which will be coming out every Friday on the channel. And be sure to like and subscribe. Follow the Instagram at The Hurt Handbook. All that will be in the description. Have a good one, guys.